I fucking love the ocean. I love dolphins, I love the Sega Genesis and the little games it had. I wish there was a game that had all that. Oh wait, there is one! In actuality, this game probably allowed me to like those things to begin with. Well, actually the only one I had was the second game of the series, and I never got far in that game anyway. But I played the original recently, and it was pretty good. Hey everybody, I'm RPG Grenade, your host and/or player, and welcome to my first ever video game review. Let's see how much of a train wreck this becomes. The review will be structured from what I find the least important to the most important in terms of game components. It will be presented in this way, and feel free to skip to any part of the video here if you would like with the annotations. I can wait. Still here? Cool. As all reviewers tend to do because the internet is full of opinionated assholes, I gotta put a disclaimer saying that this is my opinion or something. So, yeah. This is my opinion. You can have different opinions. Let me know what you disagree with in the comments. Okay, cool. Oh, also, spoilers. Okay, so what the fuck is Ecco the Dolphin? It's a dolphin named Echo. Good night, everybody. Okay, but in all seriousness, Ecco the Dolphin, TM, was released on July 31st, 1992, about a month before I was born, for the Sega Genesis, developed by the company Novotrade International, which now goes by the name Appaloosa Interactive. It tells the tale of a young dolphin named Echo and his journey to find his family, Pod, after they were whisked away into the sky by a mysterious force, braving the dark depths of the ocean and all its dangers along the way. The gameplay involves swimming. A lot of swimming. So much swimming! You basically swim to move around, you can speed up, mash your face into enemies, and dolphin scream to talk to people. This game seems to be trying to make you feel the emptiness, darkness, loneliness, but also the mysterious feeling of the ocean. I love the water and this game. Alright, let's get into this and really analyze this cute little porpoise. Alright, so what's this little guy getting into? Well, thankfully, it's an old Sega game, so the story is kind of small, but still, this one's a doozy. Echo starts out by swimming in his home bay. He talks to some of his family, and one of his brothers dares him to jump as high as he can out of the water. Alright, Bob, I'll do your stupid. When he does so, a vortex sucks up his entire group into the sky, somehow leaving him alone. Well, that sucks. And now the entire ocean is in turmoil. Echo finds out from a random tiny orca that he has to find Big Blue in the Arctic. And damn is it hard to get there. When he finally reaches Big Daddy Blue, which is a blue whale, surprise, surprise, he tells you that these crazy vortex things have been happening every 500 years and tells him to go meet the asteroid. When you find the asteroid, the oldest creature on Earth, you gotta get its giant phosphate group and bring it back to him. But you can only find it by going back in time. So you go to the lost city of Atlantis, not so lost now, and you find the ancient time machine. In that room, you learn that the cause is an alien species called the Vortex. Oh, hey, I got it right without trying. Turns out they need food, and just extract food from the ocean every once in a while because they suck at making food. Echo goes back in time, and dinosaurs. Fuck yeah, dinosaurs! He gets a flying dino friend. You find the asteroid in the past, force the globe out of it, and take it back to the asteroid in the future. So, I guess that globe didn't exist in time for several millions of years. Fuck paradoxes. The asteroid gives you new powers. You get an echo beam, and you can now breathe underwater, and you get Wolverine regeneration powers. You're then told to go back in time and get sucked up by staying in the water with your family so you can stop them from being eaten. Oh, so I guess my family, like, already dead? Oh. So anyway, you go back in time, you get sucked up by the aliens, and fight your way through their water spaceship. Holy shit, that is freaky! Eventually, you have to fight the Queen. Oh my god, that is Nightmares incarnate! You destroy that ugly fucking thing, and you free your family! Hip hip hooray! Okay, let's be fair here. There's really only 4 characters in the entire game worth mentioning. First is Echo, dolphin. He's a dolphin. He has dolphin abilities. Really, the only feature this little mammal has in terms of characters is that he has the determination to go through time and space and dangerous waters in order to save his family. Quite commendable. Next is the Big Blue, basically just a sage old wise whale. Next is the asteroid, a fucking all-knowing being of Earth that is the cause for life on the planet pretty much, gives you powers and info, not much else. Finally, the Vortex Queen. Well, besides being ugly as sin, she seems to have an inability to make her people figure out how the fuck to make food, and persistence. Yeah, the characters in this game aren't exactly complex. The characters don't really provide anything to the depth or scale of the story, and act a little bit more as an excuse to explore the lovely levels and play the game instead of swimming in the same place forever. The music in this game is fucking fantastic. It has a surreal sense of mystery, melancholy, and just an overall uncomfortable feel to it. It's incredibly fitting and makes the ocean feel big and menacing, like the ocean truly is. I would know. I do freediving, and it can feel that way, but also soothing. It has some highs and lows in the composition for specific locations, etc. I mean, you've probably been listening to it the whole time during this review. Just take a listen. I'll leave a playlist or video with the music so you can take a listen for yourself on screen or in the description. However, despite how amazingly fitting and stylized the music is, it isn't incredibly memorable. I personally can only remember the title screen music, and the other tracks, while amazing, kind of get lost in a player's mind because of how similar the style and feel of each song is to one another. This, I believe, is the biggest flaw in the music track. As for sound design, it's more or less what you expect. Old punchy bit sounds that pierce your ears. Hitting, jumping out of the water, and bumping into things have a nice sound to them, but goddamn, when you get hurt, really makes me want to tear out my eardrums. I think the sound may be the only detractor from sound design itself, as it's a little too screechy for what's necessary, but hey, do a little more than a little less, so it gets a pass. The entirety of the art is done with pixel art, as most old games do, but the art has a very distinct, realistic feel to it. As you can see, the art is quite detailed as is, and really tries to sell you on the design of actual aquatic creatures. It's quite impressive. Props to the environmental artist. That environment is extremely accurate, even though it's clearly designed. Thumbs up to you. The animation is also pretty good. It's far more subtle and much less animated than you'd expect from a video game. Again, they were going more for accuracy than for video gamey as a feel. All this accumulated realism really makes it feel like I was in the cold open ocean. The mechanics for this game are pretty simple and straightforward. You swim around using the D-pad, and you have 3 action buttons. Each button has certain functions. First, you have the speed up button. This button makes Echo swim faster, which is always appreciated. Another button is set to a ramming attack. The final button is set to sing. If you sing at certain creatures or objects, something happens. And if you hold sing, it converts into echolocation. Oh, also, you ain't a fish, you're a mammal. You need to breathe. This is probably the most interesting aspect added. Gameplay generally involves a lot of swimming around in a dark, dank ocean. For the majority of the levels, you get areas with open air to breathe, and in other small vents under the water. The waters in all levels are usually filled with sea creatures, and most will hurt you. Especially the sharks. God damn, the sharks are brutal! So you have a few tools for use during all of this. You can speed away to run away from enemies. You get faster by tapping the button and holding it when at a speed you like. Now, why not use the ramming attack? Well, it's kinda slow. Don't get me wrong, for most enemies that die in one attack, it's great. It gets rid of most of it in a single hit, but some enemies that take several hits, you're better off running because of your limited health and air loss, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It clearly forces certain strategies to have greater success than others, and teaches you that you just can't kill everything. In fact, the best use of your ramming attack is to heal yourself by eating sushi. You get the floating extra fish sushi rolls and recover health that way, and they respond so you always have a nice healing section. They are in limited locations though, so you need to keep track of where they are in order to not, die. Finally, you can sing. Throughout the game, singing is actually very useful. It has an interact button similarity, but you can do it from far away. You just gotta aim it well. Why do more games do this? You can also use it in order to knock away certain objects, like the glyph crystals that block paths once you find another key glyph. Oh, right. There's crystals! There's crystals hidden in some levels. Some of them are very well hidden, meaning you have to scour the level in order to find it. Just give them a little love tap and then yell at the crystal blocking your path, and bam, done. Finally, if you hold the sing button, your song will bounce back to you and you'll get a map showing you the area nearby you, which is far more interesting than showing you a map of the entire level. It shows you enemies or things that'll hurt you, air bubbles, other porpoises, and fish in the close area. It's incredibly useful and helps overcome a huge problem the game's design could have had much worse off. We'll get to that soon enough. Also, you have to be careful when taking air. When you breach on the surface of the water, you get a full tank of air restored, and you can dive down again no problem. However, if you breathe through the air under the water, sometimes it takes some extra time to restore, and usually the air doesn't last as long. It makes reaching the surface far more valuable. For anyone who doesn't know, game feel is anything the game has in its programming, environment, and controls in order to allow the player to feel like they're in the game and actually influencing it. Usually people refer to this as smooth controls, which isn't always applicable, but it's pretty accurate to the term. So, how does it feel like to play Ecco? Well, the environment of the watery depths is responsive, you float around when idle, the gravity when jumping is smooth and believable most of the time, and you do feel like you have full control over Ecco as if you were in the water. You have to go in a circle to turn around, you also feel a huge lack of control when out of the water, of which various levels consist of. They aren't that fun. Overall, the game feel appeared to be going for the feeling of being a dolphin in control when in water, but not when out of it. And I think they pulled it off very well, especially with how well constructed the environment is. I believe what the designers were going for was the sense of actually being in the deep ocean people are so afraid of, but also empower you with the abilities of a sea creature that humans have a fondness for and can mostly relate to. It could have been possible to have had you play as a type of mermaid or something, but it seems they were intending for an extreme amount of realism in the environment, and that limitation led them to choose a more naturally fitting creature. Aside from that, I bet they wanted to express more or less how it feels like to be a dolphin. The air meter, the speed, and the specific type of movement and the jumping definitely allows for this. I think they pulled this off tremendously well. Heck, a bunch of the time, I just swim around a level doing nothing as if I were a dolphin doing nothing important. So I think they pulled this off pretty well. In terms of ambition, there's probably only two things that truly stand out. One would be the environment. The fact of the matter is that the environment in all the levels is pretty large, spanning both claustrophobic sections and wide open ones. They really do their best to make the environment a believable ocean region, despite it being designed in a very intentional way. The second ambition, I'd say, was just all the water. That's right, water. They programmed in a shit ton of physics related to water, and I realize other Sega Genesis games did that as well. But honestly, they only slow down the standard movement and give a time limit for the most part, if there's any underwater at all. The game is entirely centered around water, and they programmed in the movement in water, how it slows you down, and even did a pretty good job programming in out-of-water physics for a slippery dolphin. Keep in mind, the area was full of platformers or beat-em-ups, and occasionally an RPG game, but no game ever attempted for stuff like this with actual watery physics at the time, and they had to design an entire game around it. I think this aspect alone was incredibly ambitious, and they fucking nailed it. Right, so what does this game do super right? Well, in various segments of the game, they tend to direct the player's eye well with flashy or strange aspects in the terrain that'll direct them more or less to the correct location in order to continue. So that's a plus. On the flip side, you kind of have to be really careful when doing this because of the camera. I think the main design flaw of this game is how close it is to Ecco. Sure, it shows off how nice the sprite work is, and believe me, it's fucking fantastic, but it also makes it kinda difficult to see what the heck is right next to you. They do get around this mostly with the addition of the echolocation map and the changing position of the camera depending on the speed and direction you're going in. But this just isn't enough. There's a lot of open areas that are abruptly interrupted by a wall you couldn't have possibly seen, and that causes a disconnect in flow and sense of control. Zooming out the camera would allow for more viewing of the environment, and the level design clues that would let players not get as lost, because it happens a lot. Also, on the topic of the design, they have a pretty neat and simple semi-tutorial segments, which are composed of the home bay and the first actual level after the fact. In the home bay, you're taught how to speed up and jump as high as possible, but also how to speak with other dolphins using echolocation, not to mention the air meter. And how are you able to do this? By trying shit out! My favorite form of learning. You have this open area that is inviting and full of dolphins, letting you speed up as much as you like with an area to jump around in and stuff. And when you talk to enough dolphins and get some context, only then can you see one tells you have to advance the plot, but in a non-conspicuous way. And in the next level, you have these islands that you can use to jump over and practice, but they aren't necessary to progress, as well as simple, slow enemies bunched together to test out your attacks. If you're testing out enough, you can learn how to use echolocation, which makes this level far easier because part of it is a labyrinth. and figuring it out will make it far easier, as well as teaching you the crystal mechanic, basically showing you most of what you'll need to be able to master for the rest of the game. I think this is a fantastic way to try and force a player to try things out in order to learn your game. In terms of memorable moments, well, these are all personal, but I feel they reflect a sense of good design. I think the most memorable bit for me was just how much time I'd spend just swimming around carefree in the large expanses of water, practicing my jumping, playing around with it, and generally just having my own fun. It really gave me a good sense of the game and made me want to always play to the next part whenever I got stuck or felt like I couldn't finish. Like I wanted Ecco to be able to return to the happy, playful life he probably had. It was very interesting for me to realize that. Another intensely memorable moment for me was that I figured out how to do echolocation. At first, I had no clue how to make it work, and when I figured out how to do it and understood all the components, I felt a sense of power, like I finally understood what the world looked like and everything made more sense. As for other memorable moments, not exactly good things. Okay, time to address the elephant in the room. This game is really hard, and I mean fucking hard. You need a lot of patience and get used to failing jumping segments a lot to be able to finish the game. Quite often, you'll get lost or forget what you have to do in a level, which can really be detrimental to the enjoyment. Yeah, I got lost a lot. Another thing, and this is a big issue, why the fuck does dying at the final boss make you redo the slowest fucking difficult auto-scrolling level? I can't get over this shit. It's so stupid that you're forced to do that boring and annoying level every time you lose to the final boss. As if fighting this fuck wasn't annoying enough! Okay. Sorry, I just really hate that part. It does at least make it all the more satisfying when you finally destroy that ugly alien. Jeez. On the whole, this game is really neat. Really neat. It's pretty interesting as being a non-platformer game trying for something new during a time where it was unheard of. You really have to praise this game for trying something so many games would be too afraid to try. However, if you want to play this game, keep in mind that it's incredibly hard though. If you are more into modern casual games, there's very little chance you'll enjoy the later segments of the game. But if you're like me, and like to make yourself suffer a bit until you manage to win, then you'll definitely enjoy this game. You can get this game on the Steam store for pretty cheap, and if you enjoy it, let me know. This was my first ever review of a game done with this much detail in it. I hope I did a good job. However, I have to keep in mind that I don't like doing things like a final score or a verdict. I feel the video itself will show off what I think of the game without using a simple thing like a score, and I hope everyone is okay with that. Regardless, I hope to be able to make more videos like this, and I expect to get better at this as I go along. So take care, see you in the next one. RPG out!